Welcome to LoneTar YouTube videos. This video is going to describe how to make a USB bootable hard drive. This hard drive will become a bootable device for crash recovery as well as a backup device for LoneTar. Before we begin, you must make sure you know what the device name is for your drive. It'll be a lot easier, and it'll also make sure that you do not do anything drastic like format your root file system. So before you do so and proceed with this video, make sure you know what the proper device name is for your USB drive. Once you find out the name of your USB drive, let's first add the device in LoneTar. So let's go into the device manager number 9. We're going to add a new device. It's going to be a mounted device because we want to have LoneTar specify a mount command. The alias can be whatever you want. I'm going to call it a USB hard drive, since that's what it is. And here is a mount point with a subdirectory. You really only need to worry about a mount point when backing up to a local USB hard drive. Subdirectories are for more complicated devices like a mounted NFS or a mounted Samba file system where multiple servers are backing up to one location and you want to distinguish backups of different servers. So in this case, we're only going to worry about putting in a mount point. So my mount point is going to be /backup. Always use the fastest when a USB hard drive is involved. So you can do option number 3, 120 block factor. And the capacity, since Linux has no capacity limit, you can set the capacity to whatever the hard drive limit is. If it's more than 200 gig, feel free to use 200 gig or select your own. Mine is 200 gig, so I'm going to select option P. And compression is totally up to you. If you use compression, it will slow the backup down a little bit, but I'm going to use no compression for this case, so the default is 0, so I'm just going to press enter. And the mount command is the most important part of this process. Without a proper mount command, it can lead to not having a successful backup, and also if you have successful backups without a proper mount command, sometimes it can lead to not having good crash recovery. So you want to make sure the mount commands are very specific, especially when it's talking about the file system structure. Since we're backing up to a USB device, a good example that we have here under the Linux column is this one, mount -t space ext3, this device name space the mount point. So I'm going to base my example off of that. So I'm going to do mount Notice it shows what I entered in earlier, /backup as my mount point. And notice my device is /dev SDA3. My device is /dev SDA, but I'm going to enter it in my mount command is /dev SDA3 because Airbag is going to format my hard drive into 3 separate partitions. 2 for the crash recovery and 1 for the backup partition. And the 3rd backup partition is for the backups. So in this case, we want to pre-set configure it for those changes. So it's mount space -t space, and if you notice I missed something there, space ext3 space /dev SDA3 space /backup. Everyone makes mistakes, so just be clear that you make sure that everything is proper syntax. But always, whatever device name you have, make sure you have a 3 at the end because you will see that in later of this video. In the 4.3.2.1 version for Linux, we have a new option to unmount the device after a backup. This is totally new, so if you do not have this version, I recommend you upgrade. I can now specify an unmount command, so after a backup, successful backup and verify, it will unmount the device. So this is a great feature for people who are swapping USB drives. That way they don't have to take a chance of unplugging a USB drive while it's mounted and corrupting the file system. You can do a U-mount on the mount point or a U-mount on the device name. So I'm going to do the device name in this case, /dev SDA3. It's going to ask for the mount point one more time. We do this for one reason, because we want to have the mount point as a separate variable in the device library ltar.dev. So type in the mount point one more time. And you have an option of rotation. You can keep up to 31 files on one backup archive or one backup hard drive. I recommend at minimum weekly. Daily really is not the best in this case, especially if you have a lot of space available for this reason. If you back up on a Monday and it's successful, and then you do the same backup on a Tuesday and that fails, your Monday backup has been overwritten and you no longer have any good backups. So at minimum, I would do weekly. In this case, for testing purposes, I'm going to do daily. And since we're going to be making this a bootable USB backup device, we're going to answer yes to this question. Anytime you're going to use a backup device for crash recovery to do a restore, you always want to make this the default and answer yes. Now that we have our device set up, we're ready to begin the second process. So let's go into the Utilities menu, and then we'll go into the System Crash Airbag menu, number 8. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go into Image Administrator. And the key thing here is not making a bootable CD image only. Since we're going to be making this a bootable USB hard drive, we want to do option number 5. And it's going to warn you that this drive will get completely wiped out, so make sure you do have the proper device name. This is very important. Notice my system picked up my drive as /dev SDA. If your system does not pick it up automatically, you can enter it in manually. So I'm going to enter in my device. And it gives me one final warning because this is very dangerous. If you accidentally type in the hard drive of your root file system, it'll completely wipe it out. So I'm going to type in yes. And it says I've done this before. It detects it on my USB hard drive. And we have a great option in the event you make a change to a device and have files on a backup partition, but don't want to format that partition, but only the first 2 partitions that are dedicated to airbag crash recovery. In this case, I don't want to do that. I want to format the entire thing, so I'm not going to do a non-destructive mode. If you've never done it before, you won't see this message. So now it's going to write the partition tables 1, 2, and 3. Again, the first 2 are for airbag for the boot process, and the third is for Lone Tar for the backups. Now the format of the third partition might take some time depending on the size of your hard drive. My hard drive is 200 gig, so it's going to take a few moments. Those with greater, like a half a terabyte or even a couple terabytes, it could take a little while, so please be patient. Once that's complete, it's going to make the CD image. This is normal if you make a bootable CD image only. This is the same process. It's making the CD image. And please make sure that you see excluding drive SDA. That's very important when talking about making this a bootable USB device. If you don't see that, please repeat this video. And last and final stage, it's going to write the airbag boot images and the grub boot information on the first two partitions on this new USB formatted hard drive. Once this is complete, what we'll do is we'll be doing a test backup on LoneTar, and if the test backup goes through 100% with a verify, then we are good to go. And at your own convenience, I would test the media to make sure that it can boot and that you can access the hard drive and the backup media with no problems. Again, there's a warning to tell you to test it before you rely on the media. So hit Q to quit. Get back to the LoneTar main menu. And to do a test, all we got to do is do the word test from the main menu. And yes, we only have one device, the USB hard drive. It mounts it. And then it's going to ask what file we want to work with to do the verify. So the backup was successful. Now we're doing the verify. And it was successful. So now we have a good bootable USB hard drive. The next step will be to test the boot and make sure that you can do the test option from the airbag boot menu and make sure that you can access the hard drive and media with no problems. And notice how it unmounts the device. So now I'm at the command line, I hit mount, and that device is not mounted.